everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231. It is Wednesday, August 5th, and we have European football back. I cannot wait. It's going to be awesome to see. I think European competitions have a lot of strategy, especially when we have second legs, which we won't have a lot of this competition, unfortunately. But, today, it's going to be really, really important to understand where these teams are sitting and what their motivations are, which really, in my opinion, gives a solid edge to our DFS play. Just a quick reminder before I get into everything. If you have not subscribed to the channel, enjoy our content, please, the best way to repay us is to hit the subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen. If you really like our content, get your wife, your husband, your dog, your cat, your bird, your unborn child, all those people, get them Google accounts and sign them up. It really does help. Other part, if you are interested in premium content, which includes, chat with me, through lock, core plays, there is a link in the details. We'd love to have you on board. All right, let's get into the matches. So like I said, obviously this article has a link to it. It is free access. So for the first two games of the slate, Shakhtar versus Wolfsburg, and I'm not even gonna try to say it right. Bakshir versus Copenhagen. Shakhtar's up 2-1 on aggregate, and Bakshir's up 1-0. Important to keep in mind, home field advantage does not matter. They're all on neutral sites, so don't worry about that. But what that's immediately going to mean is that the pieces that we really want to have are the pieces of the teams that are 100% going to push, that we know are going to try to get a goal, they're going to be pushing the pace, they're going to cause more corners, they're going to cause more shots, cause more DK points. So that's going to be Wolfsburg and Copenhagen. And what's interesting is the odds don't necessarily reflect this, which hopefully for people that just do nothing else other than just come into a slate, look at the odds, and stack the bigger favorites, I think could create an advantage. So let's go down to the odds. We see Copenhagen and the team I can't pronounce right are even, only 2.25 total. Here are the set takers, which I'll talk a little bit more. On the other side, this is the surprising thing to me, is Wolfsburg is plus 194 to Shakhtar Donetsk. And honestly, I like Wolfsburg here to really kind of be the team I want a couple of pieces from at least. All right, let's go down to lineups. Let's start with Copenhagen and Bakshir. David Peters, if you're out there, my friend, you got to get me the pronunciation or just rip me a new one for not even being able to pronounce the team's name right, but it's all good. Let's start with Copenhagen because that is going to be the side that we want pieces of. Pep Biel is going to be the name I want you to look at first and foremost when lineups come out. If he is in, he takes all of Copenhagen's sets. He's only 6,800 on the main slate, so he would just be a cash lock for you. I'm going to give you two locks for each of the slates. Hopefully that is well worth the price of admission to get into this video. So, he'll be somebody. Now, they have 4-3-3 here. Falk Jensen, I don't know why they're playing him up 3. No, he's going to drop back here in the midfield. Stage and Pep Biel would be Y. Darami and Wynn would be like two strikers. So it'd be more like a 4-4-2. They have experimented with wing backs as well. So that would be the other thing I would look for. Just count this amount of center backs. If you Bejlin, Nelson, you see another center back, then it's wing backs and the formation changes a little bit. But Pep Biel, the guy that you would want for cash, just keep in mind, when a team is pushing to score a goal, what happens? They shoot more. They push the byline more. They're trying to get to the touch line. All of those type of things create corner kicks. So I really want the set takers from teams that need to push. Darami was another guy I just wanted to mention that stood out. He's only 4,200. Much better player than 4,200. So I think he could be pretty popular in cash for those that are going to be trying to fit Biska in their lineup. Jonas Wind has been great for them as a striker. He's only 6,900. He's really kind of the guy for me that's kind of testing the slate and my feelings for it. He is not a traditional cash play by any sort. He is a striker. He's going to be dependent on goals or assists. But the price and Copenhagen having to push does make me really consider him. Jen Stage has been fine as well. He's not going to be a high crosser of the ball, but it does give you a wide player. Not forward eligible. I don't think you're going to have a shortage of midfielders that you can play. Going to the back line, I think Pierre Bengtsson, he's a Swedish fullback. If you don't see Pep Biel, he will probably be on set pieces. If you do see Pep Biel, he might not be on set pieces, but he still is an active crosser of the ball, especially if he's a wingback. Was surprised to see him sub 5K. We've seen him on Danish Super League slates and other Europa slates, actually get close to 6,000. So I thought he was a bit of a value. I think it was 46 or 4,700. So I think he'll be pretty popular in cash. Varela is a fine fullback as well. If you want like a GPP in the midfield, Zeka is one of the better players. I just don't think you'll need him on this slate. Going over to Berkshire, the biggest decision on the slate and what will decide the slate is what are you going to do with Eden Vizca. Eden Vizca takes almost all their set pieces. He's an active crosser and open play. He loves to shoot the ball. He is actually just a DFS. I always joke with my DFS gods. He is DFS demigod. But my God, they priced him up at 11.8. I think that's the price. Maybe it's 11.5. It's 11,000 something. Here's the thing. There's enough value on the site to fit him. But they're ahead. How much are we going to really see him bombing forward, be pumping in crosses, be pumping in shots, or do they play more pragmatically, being up 1-0 and trying to protect the lead? That's what you kind of have to decide and make the decision on. I think he'll be pretty popular because, once again, there's enough value to fit him. Like, you can go ahead and Visca, you can go Durrami, with where Durrami's priced, and you're rocking and rolling. But, would you rather play Visca in, more of a punt, or go more up the middle, with like a Jonas Wind or a Weghorst, or all these guys from maybe Wolfsburg, which you might be targeting? I think that's just going to make cash tough. If I knew the answer, I would tell you. I don't know the answer yet. I think a lot will depend on lineups. Maybe if we get a cheap fullback somewhere, make things easier. For what it's worth, last game, Gael Clichy subbed in at half and took some corner kicks. I don't think that's something we should expect overall. But Gael Clichy, former Man City player, is a good fullback. He's active, likes to tackle, does cross the ball. So he's fine at 6K. Just, do you need a 6K fullback that is up 1-0, or would you rather play some fullbacks from an attacking sides? I think, if you play Pierre Bengtsson as one of your guys, you maybe are going to play a Wolfsburg guy on the other side. Honestly, the rest of Berkshire, I'm just going to say it's more GPP. Demba Ba, Newcastle fame, I think Chelsea as well. Somebody can correct me on that. I always remember Demba Ba as a Newcastle player. But, yeah. Maybe I'm blanking certain things out. I'm going to give you a wink for those that know what I'm talking about. Those are both GPP. Junior Kaisera, he's fine. And then this whole midfield, look, you're playing pretty much Visca, or you're kind of just going to move on. Alexic, I saw take a few corners, good player, can score, but again, all those are GPP. I think I spent enough time on this game. Let's move on to the next one. Shakhtar versus Wolfsburg. Let's start on Wolfsburg's side. They're down, 2-1, 1-0? Yeah, 2-1. So they're going to have to push the pace. Again, really surprised to see a Bundesliga team needing to push, not favored. I pulled these from Pinnacle Sportsbook last night, so if things changed, I haven't updated this morning, so I'll take a look closer to lock. But let's talk about the plays. So I think Max Arnold is the other lock of the slate for me. I remember Laird and Jordan Cooper and Blender talking about him, way back when in the Bundesliga. I think they both said it better than I could ever do it. He takes a few sets, does defensive stuff, few shots. You're just like, he doesn't do, he's fine. And then you look down and just slate after slate after slate, he's double digits. He just always gets there. So 7,900. I don't see any reason that you would fade him here. Because he's just going to get there. So, and his team needs sets. He would be even more of a lock if you did not see Bracalo. Arnold and Bracalo split sets. But if Bracalo isn't in, then Arnold would take a monopoly, which would just make him even unfadeable in GPPs, in my opinion. He is completely okay to play with Bracalo. Bracalo's been better in Europa League than he was at the end of the Bundesliga season. Is an active player. Lee and I always joked on our previews, we're always scared to take him because he always subbed. But, again, You're going to get an attacker from a side that needs a goal, plays wide, takes some sets, forward eligible. So, he might be the more popular cash forward if you fade Visca. So I think that's a fine play. While Weghorst comes in less than him, Wout is goal or bust, but he could easily score 2 to 3 goals as well, especially for Shakhtar. Which again, I don't understand the odds. In my opinion, Wolfsburg should be favored here. Walt Weghorst I think is cash viable. He kind of fits in some same route as Jonas Wind. You need a goal or an assist, but you kind of feel like if a goal or assist happens, you're more likely than not expecting the notification to be that they scored versus somebody else. Ginzek is more of a striker than a winger. So if you see him in my opinion, this becomes more of a 4-4-2. So Bracalo jumps back to the midfield. Like Stefan could easily play up wide. I saw a number of reports that I think that this should be Mbabu. So, kind of take this formation for what it's worth. And then Ginzek would play us upside in like a 2-striker formation without Weghorst. Look at the Wolfsburg fullbacks would just be my other option. If you see Kevin Mbabu in, he is a very, very good fullback that is attacking minded. In my opinion, would be one of the better cash plays on the slate. So just watch that. On the Shakhtar side, look, like they're not the most DFS friendly team. Their sets are kind of a mess. So I don't want to go out of my way for anybody. Marlos went in, normally takes most of their corners. Tyson at the end took some as well. The issue with them is we don't get Opta data for the end of their Russian league season, so it could have been a lot of people on sets. All I could find is the Europa League, so that's kind of the set situation. I'm very inclined to just try to avoid the situation, and maybe if there's a cheaper piece in, a cheaper fullback, or a cheaper winger, that could work too. They have a young Brazilian kid named Tete who went in. He does take some sets as well. So, I'm going to be looking for him as well. Good player. So, I think that kind of wraps with Shakhtar. There's a lot of unknowns with them. Shakhtar was the team last year in the Champions League. Got him for blinking on his name right now, but had the center back that showed up and was taking sets, and we would just lock him in for like 2,900 for 2 straight slates before DraftKings realized he was taking sets. So, anything could go with them. All right, I think that wraps up slate 1. Let's go to slate 2, which has Manchester United as the biggest favorite on the slate, as a minus 425 favorite. They are up 5-0 on aggregate. And then Inter and Getafe, that is a one-leg winner-take-all. They did not get a chance to play their first game. They're not going to get a chance to play a second game. It's going to be a one-game winner-takes-all. So let's drop to Manchester United first, because I just want to kind of go over this formation that Opta has. From everything I've read in the English papers, is very wrong. Up 5-0, pundits are expecting a full rotation. So I'm not going to spend too much time on United. Like, they're a huge favorite. The big thing to me would be if they do put out like a youth team, so to speak. How much better is a youth team than potentially a, first team? I don't even remember where the last guys. I want to say it's like Austrian, but a top tier professional team that is trying to do it. I would say I'd be very careful if we see just a full clown car from Manchester United, how many United pieces I'm getting. So I would be looking, Andres Pereira is the guy I'd be interested in, would be on all their set pieces. He's fairly cheap. You also may see, let me pull it up while I talk about some other things. So, Igalo might start up top. He's been great in Europa League and FA Cup. So if you want to go that route and just assume that Lask is going L-A-S-K. I'm just going to call it Lask. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. But just assuming that they're going to be pushing so far forward, maybe United can catch them on a counter. I think that is a very fair as well. The wingers, are always in play too. I think you see Daniel James. So I'd say like the first 3 that I feel okay with are Daniel James, Andres Pereira, Igalo. But just be careful, because like if you see Chong or I think Chong might be the most likely to start on the right is what I was seeing. Just tread cautiously would be what I say. The other thing I'll mention on United, and then I'm just going to kind of move on just because of the uncertainty, is Laird, 2,500. I've seen rumored to start the fullback. It would either be him or Zalo, likely Fosa Mensah on the other side. So, if you do see those guys, there could be cheap fullbacks, which would be fine. Last guy I want to mention, because they might be really interesting. I don't think a lot of people are going to target them at all. So I think that could be really good GPP target if, we see this United clown car. So Peter McCorrell takes almost all their sets. Here's the thing, I didn't actually plan too much to talk about them. But then the more as I was coming on here, I was like, if they just don't start anybody, this could be really interesting. So 5,300 for a guy that could be pretty active crossing if Lask could control the ball, I think is interesting. Rantful, I think I'm saying that right, is a very, very, very active wingback. The last 2 games in league play had 9 crosses in each game. He is only going to be midfield eligible, which, that's the issue. We would love him if he was a defender, but he is only 4,300. So if you kind of need a cheap plug and you don't want to like overload United, or you maybe want to do a Lask stack, talking to you, Parlo Ross, that's going to be low owned. Maybe like McCorrell, Randful, and then pick one of these strikers. None of these guys have floors. Frazier has a little bit of a floor, but you're really going to be shooting for them for the goal or the assist. Renner, fine player as well. Just of the 2 wingbacks, Randful crosses more. All right, let's go over to the Inter side of things. First guy I'm going to be looking for to just decide like kind of how the slate's going to be built is Christian Eriksen. If he starts in this 10 role, he's pretty much, when he's on, he takes at least half the corners. He splits if Bergay is in at the left wing back, which I feel like could happen over Ashley Young. Ashley Young played over the weekend. Scored, assisted, was great, but I just, in my opinion, if they're wanting more of an offensive lineup, I think it would be Bergay. They would split sets. But if not, Christian Eriksen would take all of them. If we saw this lineup, which from what I've read and preview is not the lineup I'm expecting. I'm expecting Lautaro Martinez over Alexis Sanchez. But if we did see this, Alexis Sanchez would take almost all the sets. Kendreva could drop down a few, but Alexis Sanchez would be a lock at the forward spot. Without him, Lautaro Martinez and Lukaku is always tough. I would lean Lukaku because of his role on PKs. Getafe really has no problem playing completely on the counter and just sitting way back, especially in this type of matchup. So you could, sometimes when teams are sitting back and you have so many numbers in the box, that does open up more handballs or opportunities for PKs. And then Lukaku's just been in fine form too. So I think that would be the route I'd go. Kendreva's forward eligible. If you think he's going to be on a share of sets, obviously that works. He's also going to be a wing back. And when a team bunkers, a lot of times when you have teams with wing backs, the way to try to get through it is to cross the ball. So, we could see a vintage Kendreva game where he could be pumping in 10, 12 crosses. I think that wraps up Inter. Just look for the set takers. Obviously, you're going to want to have them, and then, you got to make the decision on Lukaku. For Getafe, the player I'm going to be looking for is Jason. They don't have projected him but if he plays here on the right mid, he's so good for DFS. We take all their sets, pumps in a ton of crosses and open play. Look, like, I'm not necessarily scared of Inter. Like, they are been known to be open to DFS production on the other side of things. And I think Jason, is a pretty decent bet to get double digits. If he's not in, I'm just kind of not excited about Getafe. You should never really be excited about them, but like Suarez and Cucurella, I guess, are okay. But you would probably have a Rambari taking most of the corners if we didn't see Jason. So, he's a cheap plug that, depending on your roster builds, you might want to use. Suarez is cheap enough that he's okay. He potentially could be on some corners. At the end of the season, he was losing them, so I'm not as excited. Oliveira is fairly cheap, gets forward a bit. And then Cucurella, former Barcelona product, does cross a lot when he gets the ball, but he's also, we've had him a few sites where he's just been in foul fest. So I don't know. I'm getting less and less excited to play Cucurella. On the front end, Jaime Mata is always a threat for goals. Really good striker, also on their PKs. So, if you want kind of a GPP pivot, I think that works. All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up Europa League. I really hope that this preview helps. Should be a fun day of slates. I think there's a lot of strategy, like I kind of mentioned in this. So don't be afraid, in my opinion, to be just a little bit different or, kind of break the cash mold a bit. Might be a good slate for it as you ramp up for the big Champions League slate on Friday. We'll be back tomorrow to preview tomorrow's Europa League contest. So thank you once again for watching and supporting FSI. Have a great day and good luck.